In the heart of Stormy Creek, legendary sharpshooter Samuel Thompson grapples with his complicated past as he strives to protect his beloved town from the looming threat of Hunter and his gang. With the support of his friends, including the determined Max, Samuel must confront old rivalries and embrace his role as a protector. As tensions rise, the community faces a pivotal moment that will define their future. Amidst chaos and laughter, Max discovers that true bravery comes in many forms. Sometimes it means standing up to bullies, and other times it means lifting spirits when hope seems lost. Together, Samuel and Max navigate the challenges of loyalty, courage, and unity as they work to build a brighter future for Stormy Creek. In this gripping tale of resilience, friendship, and the fight against adversity, they learn that together they can weather any storm.
Before we continue with the story, you should comment where you are watching from. If you are enjoying this story, do not forget to hit that subscribe button. We have another episode for you tomorrow.
In the quaint village of Stormy Creek, Colorado, an elderly man named Samuel Thompson sits in a cafe, his hands shaking as he sips tea. Unbeknownst to the locals, he is a renowned sharpshooter who has chosen to embrace a peaceful life after leaving his tumultuous past behind. The sun shines brightly outside, casting a warm glow on the cobblestone streets. Children play nearby, their laughter filling the air, while adults go about their daily routines, unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. As Samuel enjoys his tea, a group of young bullies strolls into the cafe. They are loud and boisterous, their laughter echoing off the walls. They strut around like they own the place, their eyes scanning for someone to pick on. Spotting Samuel in the corner, they smirk and whisper among themselves. The leader of the group, a tall boy with a mischievous grin, nudges his friends and points at Samuel. With a sense of bravado, they approach him. They start making fun of his age and shaking hands. Samuel remains calm, taking another sip of his tea as they circle around him like vultures. The other patrons glance over but quickly turn back to their conversations, not wanting to get involved. Samuel's heart races slightly, but he keeps his expression neutral. The bullies grow bolder, pushing their luck as they tease him about his grey hair and wrinkled skin. They laugh loudly, thinking they are clever and strong. Samuel feels a mix of annoyance and pity for them. They don't know who they are dealing with. He has faced much tougher challenges in his life than these petty taunts. One of the boys reaches out and knocks Samuel's hat off his head. The hat lands on the floor with a soft thud. The leader cackles like it's the funniest thing in the world. Samuel looks down at his hat, then back up at the boys with a calm demeanor that surprises even him. He knows he could put them in their place if he wanted to, but he chooses not to engage. The bullies continue their antics, growing more aggressive as they see Samuel's lack of reaction as an invitation to push further. They shove him lightly in an attempt to provoke him into standing up for himself. But Samuel remains seated, sipping his tea and watching them with an unreadable expression. As they tire of their game, one of the boys declares that they should leave before someone sees them messing with an old man. They turn to leave, but not before one last parting shot from the leader, who calls Samuel an old fool. The group bursts into laughter as they exit the cafe. Once they are gone, silence falls over the room again. The other patrons finally look over at Samuel with concern in their eyes. A kind woman approaches him and offers to help pick up his hat from the floor. Samuel smiles gently and thanks her but waves off her concern about the bullies. Outside, the bullies swagger down the street, feeling triumphant and invincible after their little show. Back inside the cafe, Samuel finishes his tea and stands up slowly. He places his hat back on his head and walks out into the bright afternoon sun. He takes a deep breath of fresh air and lets it fill his lungs as he steps onto the sidewalk where children are still playing joyfully. As he walks through Stormy Creek, whispers follow him from behind. Some kids point at him in awe while others mimic what they think is an old cowboy walk. Samuel keeps moving forward with purpose in his stride, though he can still feel the sting of those taunts echoing in his mind. He heads toward the edge of town where a small shooting range sits quietly under some trees. It's a place he hasn't visited in years, but feels drawn to now more than ever. With each step closer to that familiar spot, memories flood back, memories of glory days spent honing his skills as a sharpshooter. The sun begins to dip lower in the sky as Samuel reaches the shooting range. He pauses for a moment at its entrance, taking in how much time has passed since he last held a gun in his hands. The weight of nostalgia hangs heavy around him like an old friend. He steps inside and finds everything just as he left it, targets hanging from wooden posts and dust motes floating lazily through beams of light streaming in from above. With careful movements, he picks up an old rifle that rests against the wall, a relic from another life. As he holds it again after so many years, memories flood back of competitions won and challenges faced head-on without fear or hesitation. A small smile creeps onto his face as he recalls how once upon a time he was feared by many for his unmatched accuracy. But now? Now he is just an old man trying to live peacefully among people who have no idea what he is capable of doing if pushed too far. Suddenly, there's a rustling sound outside that pulls him from his thoughts. He glances out through a window and sees those same bullies approaching again, this time with more friends in tow. They are laughing loudly again, but this time it feels different. There's an edge to their laughter that sends chills down Samuel's spine. They seem emboldened by their earlier encounter and have come back for more fun at his expense. Samuel's heart races as he watches them gather outside like wolves preparing to pounce on unsuspecting prey. He knows what they want to humiliate him further, perhaps even make him regret ever stepping foot outside again. But instead of fear creeping into his heart this time around, something else stirs within him. The quiet resolve begins to take shape deep inside where once there was only peace. He grips the rifle tightly as determination courses through him like wildfire, igniting every fiber of his being. He will not allow these children to bully him any longer. Samuel steps away from the window with newfound purpose coursing through him. He will show them that beneath this gentle exterior beats the heart of a legendary sharpshooter still capable of defending himself against those who think they can take advantage just because he is older now. He moves toward the door leading back outside where those boys wait eagerly for their next chance at mockery without realizing how close they are coming to awakening something far greater than themselves, a storm ready to unleash its fury upon anyone foolish enough to underestimate its power. As he opens that door wide enough for all eyes outside to see him standing tall against all odds, Samuel Thompson knows today marks not just another day, but rather an unforgettable turning point where legends rise once more amidst chaos waiting patiently below surface level. As Samuel steps outside, the bright sun shines down on him, and the laughter of the bullies grows louder. They are gathered in a tight group, their faces filled with confidence. They think they have won, that they can continue to toy with him without consequence. But Samuel stands tall, his heart steady and strong. He takes a deep breath and walks toward them. The boys notice him immediately, their laughter fading as they see the determination in his eyes. They exchange glances, unsure of how to react to this unexpected change. Samuel approaches them slowly, each step measured and deliberate. The air around them thickens with tension, and the other children nearby stop playing to watch what unfolds. Samuel's presence commands attention. The bullies shift uncomfortably, realizing that their earlier bravado may have been misplaced. They whisper among themselves, trying to muster the courage to continue their taunts. But Samuel does not flinch, he stands firm, ready to face whatever comes next. Just then, the door to the cafe swings open again, and a group of motorcyclists storms inside. They are known as the Storm Riders, a rowdy gang that often causes trouble in Stormy Creek. Their leather jackets gleam in the sunlight as they enter, and their loud voices fill the cafe with an unsettling energy. The atmosphere shifts dramatically as the Storm Riders take over the space. Patrons look up from their meals, startled by the sudden intrusion. The bullies momentarily forget about Samuel as they turn to watch the new arrivals with wide eyes. The leader of the Storm Riders strides forward with an air of authority. He scans the room until his gaze lands on Samuel. A smirk spreads across his face as he approaches the old man. The tension escalates instantly. It is clear that this gang is not here for friendly conversation. Samuel remains calm but alert, sensing that this encounter could lead to trouble. The Storm Riders are notorious for their aggressive behavior, and he knows he must tread carefully. The leader stops just a few feet away from Samuel and begins to speak, but no words come out yet. Instead, he sizes up his opponent. The other bullies watch from a distance, caught between their desire to mock Samuel and their fear of the gang now looming over them. The cafe staff exchange worried glances, unsure of how to handle this unexpected situation. Suddenly, a curious young girl named Max steps forward from behind Samuel. She has been watching everything unfold with wide eyes. Max is brave for her age. She admires Samuel and believes he can handle anything thrown at him. She looks up at him with trust in her eyes. But Max's innocent curiosity catches the attention of one of the Storm Riders. He points at her and laughs loudly, calling her out for being foolish enough to stand near an old man like Samuel. This only adds fuel to the fire as tension rises further in the cafe. Samuel turns slightly to Max and gives her a reassuring nod, silently telling her that everything will be okay. He knows he must remain calm for her sake as well as his own. The leader of the Storm Riders finally speaks up, demanding information about Samuel's past, about who he really is and what stories surround his legendary status as a sharpshooter. His tone is mocking but laced with genuine curiosity. The atmosphere grows thick with uncertainty as everyone waits for Samuel's response. The bullies watch eagerly. They want to see how this old man will handle himself against such intimidating figures. Samuel takes a moment before answering. He knows that revealing too much could escalate things further. Instead of giving them what they want right away, he maintains his composure and simply stands there, letting silence fill the space between them. The leader grows impatient and steps closer, challenging Samuel's silence with more taunts about being just an old cowboy who has lost his edge. The other Storm Riders laugh along with him, feeding off his bravado while keeping their eyes trained on Samuel. But instead of backing down or showing fear, Samuel feels something awaken within him, a fire igniting deep inside that had long been dormant since he chose this peaceful life. He realizes that today is not just about defending himself against bullies or proving anything to anyone, it's about standing up for what is right. As Max watches intently beside him, Samuel finally speaks, not with words, but through his presence alone. He straightens his back even more and looks directly into the eyes of each member of the gang one by one. The laughter fades slowly as they begin to feel an unexplainable weight in his gaze, a mix of respect and caution that makes them second-guess their intentions. The tension hangs heavy in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Suddenly, out of nowhere comes a loud crash from outside, the sound of something heavy hitting the ground followed by shouts from nearby townsfolk who have gathered out of curiosity or concern about what is happening inside. This unexpected distraction shifts everyone's focus momentarily away from Samuel and onto whatever chaos has erupted outside. The storm riders exchange glances filled with uncertainty. They know they need to decide quickly whether to stay or leave before things escalate further. Samuel seizes this opportunity. He knows that now is not just a moment for defense, but also for action. He takes a step forward into their midst, his heart racing yet steady, and calls upon all those years spent honing skills once thought forgotten. With each heartbeat echoing louder than before, he prepares himself for whatever may come next. Whether it be words exchanged or actions taken, he will stand firm against anyone who dares challenge him today. As chaos brews outside while uncertainty reigns within, the stage is set for something extraordinary. A legendary sharpshooter ready once again, not just as an old cowboy sipping tea, but as someone who fights back when pushed too far. Samuel's composed demeanor sharply contrasts with the hostile behavior of the bikers, led by Hunter Storm Black. The gang gathers around him, their laughter replaced by an air of intimidation. Hunter steps closer, his eyes narrowing as he interrogates Samuel about his past. He demands to know what makes this old man so special, why he is the subject of whispers and stories in the town. As the questions fly, Samuel feels a shift within himself. The trembling in his hand ceases, replaced by a steady confidence that comes from years of experience. He stands tall, facing Hunter without flinching. The other bikers exchange glances, sensing that their leader may have underestimated this old cowboy. Hunter leans in closer, his voice low and threatening. He wants to provoke Samuel, to see if he can break him. But Samuel remains silent, his eyes focused and unwavering. The tension in the cafe thickens as everyone waits for an answer that does not come. The other patrons watch with bated breath, unsure of what will happen next. Max stands beside Samuel, her small frame filled with admiration for the man she believed can handle anything thrown at him. She senses the storm brewing but trusts in Samuel's strength. Just as Hunter is about to escalate his taunts, a loud commotion erupts outside. The sound of sirens pierces through the air, drawing attention away from the confrontation inside the cafe. The bikers pause, their expression shifting from aggression to concern as they glance toward the door. Suddenly, the local sheriff bursts into the cafe, his presence commanding immediate respect. Sheriff Collins is known for his no-nonsense attitude and quick action in times of trouble. He scans the room and quickly assesses the situation. Seeing Samuel standing firm against the gang, Sheriff 𝗗𝗦𝗦𝗧𝗏 strides over with purpose. He addresses Hunter directly, demanding to know what is happening. The sheriff's authoritative tone cuts through the tension like a knife. The bikers instinctively step back, recognizing that they are no longer in control of the situation. Hunter tries to play it cool, but there's a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes as he realizes he may have bitten off more than he can chew. The sheriff's arrival shifts the balance of power significantly. Samuel remains quiet, but feels a wave of relief wash over him. He knows that Sheriff 𝗗𝗦𝗦𝗧𝗏 will not tolerate any trouble in his town. The sheriff turns to Samuel and gives him a nod of acknowledgement, a silent agreement that they both understand what is at stake here. Samuel feels bolstered by this support. He knows he is not alone in facing these bullies. As Sheriff 𝗗𝗦𝗧𝗏 confronts Hunter and his gang, he makes it clear that their behavior will not be tolerated in Stormy Creek. He warns them about causing trouble and reminds them of the consequences they could face if they continue down this path. The bikers exchange nervous glances. They know they are on thin ice now that law enforcement is involved. Hunter tries to maintain his bravado, but feels the walls closing in around him. The other patrons watch closely as tension hangs heavy in the air. Max stands beside Samuel, feeling a mix of excitement and fear as she witnesses this showdown unfold before her eyes. She looks up at Samuel and sees a man who has faced many storms before, one who is ready to stand strong against any challenge. With Sheriff 𝗗𝗦𝗧𝗏 now present, things begin to de-escalate. The bikers start to back off slightly, realizing that they might have pushed too far this time. But even as they retreat, there is an underlying threat that lingers in their eyes, or a promise that this confrontation may not be over just yet. Samuel remains vigilant as he watches them leave. He knows that while today may have ended without violence, it is only a temporary reprieve. The storm riders are not just going to vanish quietly, they will be back. Once the bikers exit the cafe, Sheriff 𝗗𝗦𝗧𝗏 turns to Samuel and Max with a reassuring smile. He asks if they are all right and expresses gratitude for Samuel's calm demeanor during such a tense situation. Samuel nods appreciatively, but knows deep down that this encounter was just a prelude to something bigger. As people begin to return to their meals and conversations resume around them, Max looks up at Samuel with wide eyes filled with admiration and curiosity about what happened next. She senses that something significant has shifted, not just for Samuel, but for everyone who witnessed this confrontation today. Samuel takes a deep breath and looks out into the distance where the bikers disappeared moments ago. He understands that he must prepare himself for whatever comes next because he can feel it brewing on the horizon, a storm ready to unleash its fury once again. He knows he cannot hide forever behind his peaceful life. Sometimes you must face your past head-on to protect those you care about most. And today marks just the beginning of what will unfold, a legendary sharpshooter stepping back into a world filled with challenges and danger once more. As Max stands beside him with her small hand clutching his arm tightly, Samuel realizes that together they will face whatever comes next, because sometimes legends rise again when called upon by fate. A confrontation brews in the air as Samuel stands firm, his heart steady and his mind clear. Hunter Storm Black steps forward, a cocky grin plastered across his face. He circles Samuel like a predator sizing up its prey. The atmosphere is electric, filled with unspoken challenges and a sense of impending conflict. Hunter begins to taunt Samuel about his past, throwing out jabs about how an old cowboy like him couldn't possibly stand up to the likes of the Storm Riders. He boasts about the power and fearlessness of his gang, trying to provoke a reaction from Samuel. But Samuel remains calm, his expression unreadable. He knows that showing anger or fear would only give Hunter the upper hand. As Hunter continues to mock him, Samuel's mind races back to the days when he was known for his sharpshooting skills. He recalls the countless hours spent practicing, honing his aim until it was nearly perfect. While Hunter tries to get under his skin, Samuel's hands remain steady at his sides, revealing the strength that lies beneath his calm exterior. The tension escalates as Hunter leans in closer, daring Samuel to react. He speaks loudly enough for everyone in the cafe to hear, making sure they all know who he is and what he represents. The other bikers watch closely, their eyes flicking between their leader and the old man who refuses to back down. Max stands beside Samuel, her small hand still gripping his arm tightly. She senses the rising tension and feels a mix of fear and excitement. She knows that something important is about to happen, something that will change everything. Hunter finally steps back, crossing his arms as he waits for Samuel to respond. The cafe is silent now, even the patrons have paused their conversations, drawn into this standoff. Samuel takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of their gazes upon him. He knows that this moment could define not just his own fate, but also the fate of those around him. Then, without a word, Samuel reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small object, a silver coin he used to practice with long ago. With a flick of his wrist, he tosses it into the air. The coin glints in the light as it spins upward before beginning its descent. In an instant, Samuel's hand moves with lightning speed. He draws an old revolver from beneath his coat, a weapon that has seen many battles but still holds its power. As the coin falls back down toward him, he takes aim and fires with precision. The shot rings out loud and clear in the cafe, echoing off the walls like thunder. The coin is struck mid-air and falls harmlessly to the ground in 2 pieces. Gasps fill the room as everyone realizes what just happened. Hunter's expression shifts from arrogance to shock as he realizes that this old man is not just a peaceful cowboy but a legendary sharpshooter who still possesses incredible skill. The other bikers step back instinctively, their bravado fading as they witness this display of expertise. Samuel lowers his revolver slowly, maintaining eye contact with Hunter. There's no need for words, his actions speak volumes about who he is and what he is capable of doing if pushed too far. The tension in the room hangs heavy, it feels as if time has stopped for just a moment. Hunter tries to regain control of the situation but stumbles over his words as he processes what just happened. His bravado crumbles slightly under the weight of Samuel's calm confidence. The other bikers exchange nervous glances, they realize they might have underestimated this old man after all. Max looks up at Samuel with wide eyes filled with admiration and pride. She sees not just an old cowboy, but someone who stands strong against adversity, someone who will fight back when challenged. As silence envelops them once more, Hunter finally manages to speak again, but this time there's less bravado in his voice. He attempts to regain some semblance of power by making threats and trying to rally his gang behind him. But Samuel remains unfazed. He knows that words are meaningless when backed by true skill and resolve. He stands tall, ready for whatever may come next, whether it be more taunts or an outright confrontation. The atmosphere shifts again as Sheriff Collins watches closely from where he stands near the entrance of the cafe. He senses that things could escalate quickly if not handled carefully. Samuel feels a sense of purpose surge within him. This moment is not just about defending himself, but also about protecting those around him, Max and everyone else who has supported him through thick and thin. With each heartbeat echoing louder than before, Samuel prepares himself for whatever may come next. The storm is brewing on the horizon. It is only a matter of time before it breaks loose. As Hunter tries one last time to provoke him with insults aimed at both age and skill, Samuel remains silent yet resolute, knowing full well that sometimes legends must rise again amidst chaos waiting patiently below surface level. As the tension begins to ease, the bikers slowly back away, realizing that they have underestimated Samuel. Hunter, still trying to save face, turns to leave but misjudges his step. In a moment of clumsiness, he accidentally bumps into a table, sending Samuel's untouched cup of tea flying. The cup tips over and spills its contents all over the floor. A hush falls over the cafe as everyone watches the tea splash across the ground. Samuel raises an eyebrow, and for a brief moment, it feels like the air is thick with anticipation of what might happen next. But instead of anger or frustration, a small smile creeps onto Samuel's face. Hunter looks down at the mess he has made and then back at Samuel, his bravado faltering. The other bikers snicker at the situation, and Max can't help but giggle, her laughter breaking the lingering tension in the room. Samuel takes a step forward and chuckles lightly, pointing out that it seems Hunter's aim is not as good as he thought. The humor in the moment catches everyone off guard. The patrons who were once anxious now begin to relax, laughter bubbling up around them. Hunter tries to regain his composure but finds it difficult with Samuel standing there, unfazed and still smiling. He attempts to make a joke about how old cowboys should stick to coffee instead of tea, but stumbles over his words. The bikers laugh again, this time at Hunter's expense. Samuel shakes his head playfully and says that it's funny how his hands never shake when it counts, like when he shot that coin out of the air, but somehow they always seem to tremble when he's just trying to enjoy a nice cup of tea. This light-hearted jab draws more laughter from the crowd, and even Hunter can't help but crack a smile despite himself. Max beams up at Samuel, her admiration growing even more as she sees how he can turn a tense situation into something lighter. She feels proud to stand beside him, knowing that he is not just a legendary sharpshooter but also someone who knows how to handle life's challenges with grace and humor. The bikers exchange glances. Their earlier confidence has been shaken by this unexpected turn of events. They realize that they may have lost more than just their intimidation factor today. With their leader looking embarrassed and the mood shifting in favor of Samuel, they decide it's best to retreat for now. As they turn to leave, Hunter throws one last half-hearted insult over his shoulder about how they'll be back next time with more than just words. But even as he says it, there's less conviction in his tone. The laughter from the cafe patrons follows them out the door. Once they are gone, Sheriff Collins steps forward again, shaking his head with a grin on his face. He praises Samuel for handling things so well and adds that sometimes laughter is the best way to diffuse a tense situation. Samuel nods appreciatively, but knows deep down that while today ended on a light note, there are still challenges ahead. He glances down at the spilled tea on the floor and thinks about how sometimes life throws unexpected messes your way, messy situations that can either bring you down or teach you to find joy in the chaos. Max tugs at Samuel's arm, asking if they can get another cup of tea together now that things have calmed down. Samuel chuckles again and agrees. After all, there's nothing quite like sharing a warm drink with someone who believes in you. As they walk toward the counter together, laughter fills the cafe once more, a reminder that even in moments of tension and uncertainty, there is always room for light-heartedness and connection among friends. Samuel knows this day has changed something within him. He feels stronger than before. He is ready for whatever comes next, because sometimes legends rise again not just through skill, but through laughter shared with those who matter most. As Samuel and Max wait for their tea, Samuel's mind drifts back to his past as a sharpshooter. He remembers the thrill of competition, the rush of adrenaline as he took aim, and the pride that came with each perfect shot. But those days were also filled with challenges and dangers that he had chosen to leave behind. Now, as he stands in the cafe with Max by his side, he feels a mixture of nostalgia and resolve. Outside, dark storm clouds gather ominously in the sky. The air grows heavy, and a chill runs through the cafe. Samuel glances out the window, watching as the wind begins to pick up, rustling leaves and sending a shiver down his spine. He knows that storms can bring both rain and chaos, and he senses that trouble is brewing once again. Turning to Lily, the waitress who has been serving them, Samuel leans in slightly. He tells her that she should keep an eye out because trouble may be on the horizon. Lily looks at him curiously, sensing the seriousness in his tone. She nods, understanding that Samuel is not just talking about the weather but something deeper, an instinct that comes from years of experience. Max watches this exchange with wide eyes, still holding on to Samuel's arm. She can feel the shift in atmosphere and knows that her friend is picking up on something important. Samuel's words resonate with her. She understands that sometimes trouble comes when you least expect it. As they wait for their tea to arrive, Samuel reflects on how life can change in an instant. One moment, you are enjoying a peaceful day in a cafe, and the next, you are faced with challenges that test your strength and resolve. He thinks about the bikers and how they had tried to intimidate him earlier. They may have left for now, but he knows they will not forget this encounter easily. The storm clouds outside grow darker, swirling ominously as if echoing his thoughts. Samuel feels a sense of urgency rising within him. He knows he must be ready for whatever comes next. He has spent too long hiding from his past, and now it seems fate is calling him back into action. Max tugs at his arm again, breaking him from his thoughts. She asks if they can sit by the window so they can watch the storm together. Samuel smiles at her innocence and agrees. After all, sharing moments like these is what makes life special. As they move to a table by the window, Samuel takes one last look outside. The wind howls louder now, and he can almost hear the distant rumble of thunder. He knows that storms can bring destruction, but also renewal, a chance to start fresh. Sitting down with Max beside him, he feels a renewed sense of purpose. He realizes that while he may be an old cowboy now, there is still fire within him, a fire that will not be extinguished by age or fear. Lily brings over their tea just as the first drops of rain begin to fall against the window pane. The sound is soothing yet foreboding. It reminds Samuel that change is coming. He raises his cup to Max in a small toast, a promise that no matter what happens next, they will face it together. As they sip their tea and watch the storm begin to unfold outside, Samuel knows deep down that this moment marks not just a pause in time but a turning point, a reminder that legends may rise again when called upon by fate. He looks out at the gathering storm clouds one last time before turning back to Max with a smile. Whatever challenges lie ahead, he is ready to face them head-on because sometimes hidden strength reveals itself when you least expect it. As Samuel sits in the cafe, sipping tea with Max beside him, memories begin to swirl in his mind like the storm clouds gathering outside. He closes his eyes for a moment, and the sounds of the cafe fade away. Instead, he is transported back to a time long ago when he was known as 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗧𝗟𝗏 Thompson, a name that struck fear into the hearts of many. In those days, he was not just an old cowboy but a celebrated sharpshooter, renowned for his unmatched accuracy and quick draw. Crowds would gather at competitions, eager to witness his incredible skills. He remembers the thrill of standing on the makeshift stage, the weight of the revolver in his hand, and the cheers of the audience ringing in his ears. Each shot he fired was met with gasps and applause, and he felt invincible. But with fame came challenges. Samuel recalls how rival shooters would taunt him, trying to provoke him into making mistakes. They would challenge him to duels, each encounter filled with tension and danger. He was always ready, always focused, but over time, the pressure began to weigh heavily on him. The thrill of competition turned into a burden he could no longer bear. One memory stands out vividly, a high-stakes competition in a dusty town where the stakes were more than just pride. It was there that he faced a rival named Jack the Viper Malone, a man known for his ruthless tactics and willingness to do whatever it took to win. The crowd was electric with anticipation as they prepared for their duel. Samuel remembers standing across from Jack, feeling the heat of the sun on his back and the weight of expectation pressing down on him. The two men stared each other down, each waiting for the other to make a move. When the signal was given, time seemed to slow as Samuel drew his revolver with practiced ease. He aimed carefully and fired, hitting his target dead center. But instead of cheers, there was silence. Jack had fallen, and in that moment, Samuel felt something shift inside him. The thrill of victory was overshadowed by a heavy sense of loss. He had won, but at what cost? The realization that he had taken another man's life weighed heavily on his heart. After that day, everything changed for Samuel. The fame that once brought him joy now felt like a prison. He decided to leave it all behind, the competitions, the crowds, and the constant pressure to prove himself. He sought tranquility in a quiet life away from the spotlight. Samuel opened his eyes again, bringing himself back to the present moment in the cafe with Max still by his side. The storm outside rumbled softly as if echoing his thoughts. He knows that while he has found peace in Stormy Creek, echoes of his past will always linger, reminding him of who he once was and what he left behind. Max looks up at him with curiosity shining in her eyes. She senses that there is more to Samuel than meets the eye. She feels that he carries stories within him, stories that shaped him into the man he is today. Samuel smiles gently at her, realizing that perhaps it is time to share some of those stories. He takes another sip of tea and begins to tell her about his past, not just as 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗧𝗟𝗏 Thompson, but as someone who learned that true strength lies not only in skill but also in knowing when to walk away from conflict. As he shares these memories with her, he feels lighter, a connection forming between them that goes beyond words. The storm outside continues to brew, but inside the cafe, laughter and warmth fill the air once more. Samuel understands now that while history may echo through time, it does not define who he is today. Instead, it serves as a reminder of how far he has come and how much stronger he has become because of it. As they finish their tea together, Samuel knows that whatever challenges lie ahead, whether from old rivals or new threats, he will face them head-on with courage and wisdom gained from years of experience. And perhaps this time around, he will not have to face them alone. After their tea, Max becomes curious about Samuel's past. She has always admired him, but now she feels there is so much more to discover. One afternoon, while exploring the small town library, she stumbles upon a collection of old newspaper articles tucked away in a dusty corner. The headlines catch her eye: "𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗛𝗧𝗔𝗚𝗦 Thompson strikes again," and "the legendary sharpshooter wins another duel." Max's heart races as she reads about Samuel's incredible feats and the fame he once had. She learns about the competitions he dominated and the rivalries that defined his career. The stories paint a picture of a man who was both celebrated and feared. But as she continues reading, she notices something else: there are hints of darkness, too. Articles mention duels that ended tragically and the toll that fame took on him. With the articles fresh in her mind, Max rushes back to the cafe where Samuel is sitting quietly, lost in thought. She can't contain her excitement as she approaches him, holding up the newspaper clippings for him to see. Samuel looks at her with a mix of surprise and apprehension. Max confronts him gently, asking if he really was 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗛𝗧𝗔𝗚𝗦 Thompson, the legendary sharpshooter everyone talks about. Samuel's expression changes. He knows this moment is coming, but wishes it could wait a little longer. He takes a deep breath, realizing that Max deserves to know the truth about his past. As he begins to share his stories, he feels a mix of pride and reluctance. He recounts tales of his glory days, the adrenaline of competitions, the thrill of hitting targets with perfect accuracy, and the cheers from crowds that once adored him. But with each story, he emphasizes the darker side of fame, the pressure to always win, the rivals who sought to take him down, and the loneliness that came with being in the spotlight. Max listens intently, her eyes wide with fascination. She can see how much these memories mean to Samuel, but also how they weigh heavily on him. He tells her about the moments when victory felt hollow and how he began to question whether it was all worth it. As Samuel speaks, their bond deepens. Max understands now that being a legend comes with sacrifices that can leave scars on even the strongest of men. She admires his strength not just for his skill, but for his willingness to share these painful memories. Samuel reflects on how sharing these stories helps him process his past. He realizes that by opening up to Max, he is not only teaching her about who he was, but also allowing himself to heal from those old wounds. There is power in vulnerability, and he feels lighter as he shares more of his journey. The storm outside continues to rumble softly as they sit together in the cafe. The rain patters against the windows like a gentle reminder that life is ever-changing. Samuel knows that while his past shaped him, it does not define who he is today. As they finish discussing the articles, Max reaches out and places her hand on Samuel's arm. She tells him how much she admires his courage, not just for being a sharpshooter, but for choosing a life of peace afterward. Samuel smiles at her words. They mean more than she realizes. In this moment of connection, Samuel understands that their relationship has grown stronger through shared stories and mutual respect. He feels grateful for Max's curiosity and kindness. She has become an important part of his life, a reminder that even legends need support from those they trust. The conversation shifts toward what lies ahead, the challenges they may face together as old rivals resurface and new threats loom on the horizon. Samuel knows he must be ready to protect those he cares about while also embracing this new chapter in his life. As they leave the cafe together, stepping into the cool rain outside, Samuel feels a renewed sense of purpose. He may have been known as 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗚𝗦 Thompson once, but now he is simply Samuel, a man ready to face whatever comes next alongside a brave young girl who believes in him. As the rain falls steadily outside, the storm riders gather in a dimly lit garage on the outskirts of Stormy Creek. The atmosphere is tense, charged with a mix of anger and uncertainty. Hunter Storm Black paces back and forth, his brow furrowed in thought. He is determined to uncover more about Samuel Thompson and his past as 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗚𝗦 Thompson. The gang members sit around a worn-out table, their expressions reflecting a blend of excitement and apprehension. They have heard the stories about Samuel's legendary skills, but now they are beginning to realize that there is more to him than just the tales of old. Hunter slams his fist on the table, demanding to know why they let an old man intimidate them so easily. Some members of the gang nod in agreement, fueled by Hunter's bravado. They want to prove themselves, to show that they are not afraid of anyone, even a man with a legendary past. But others in the group feel uneasy. They question whether it's wise to provoke someone with such a storied history. After all, they witnessed Samuel's skill firsthand when he shot that coin out of the air. The internal strife within the gang begins to surface as voices rise. Some members argue that they should leave Samuel alone. He has chosen a peaceful life, and there's no need to stir up trouble. They worry that pushing him could lead to consequences they are not prepared for. Hunter dismisses their concerns, insisting that they need to dig deeper into Samuel's past. He believes that if they can find something, anything, that tarnishes Samuel's reputation, it will give them the upper hand. He is convinced that legends are built on secrets and weaknesses, and he is determined to expose them. As the discussion continues, tension mounts within the group. Some members start to question Hunter's leadership and motives. They wonder if this obsession with Samuel is worth risking their own safety and reputation. The gang's loyalty begins to waver as doubts creep in. Hunter notices this shift and tries to rally his friends by reminding them of their strength as a gang. He emphasizes that they are not just a group of bikers, they are a family bound by loyalty and courage. But even as he speaks, he can see uncertainty in their eyes. The conversation takes a turn when one member suggests that instead of confronting Samuel directly, they could find out more about him through other means, perhaps by talking to people in town who knew him before he left his life as a sharpshooter behind. This idea sparks interest among some members, but only frustrates Hunter further. He believes that confronting Samuel head-on is the only way to prove their dominance. The divide within the gang grows wider as arguments break out over strategy and loyalty. Some members begin to question whether Hunter is leading them down a dangerous path. As tensions flare, Hunter realizes he must regain control of the situation before it spirals out of hand. He raises his voice, commanding attention and demanding loyalty from his gang members. He tells them that they cannot back down now, they have come too far to turn back. Despite his efforts, cracks begin to show in their unity. Some members exchange glances filled with doubt. They wonder if this mission against Samuel is worth risking everything they have built together. Meanwhile, outside the garage, rain continues to pour down relentlessly. The storm mirrors the brewing conflict within the Storm Riders, a tempest ready to unleash its fury both inside and outside their ranks. As Hunter's voice echoes in the garage, he knows that time is running out for him to solidify his leadership and convince his gang of their purpose against Samuel Thompson. The stakes are higher than ever, and the tension between loyalty and ambition hangs heavy in the air. The scene closes with Hunter staring fiercely at his gang members, determined not to let anyone waver in their resolve, while uncertainty looms just beneath the surface, a reminder that even among thieves and bullies, trust can be fragile when faced with true strength. The rain continues to fall heavily, creating a rhythm that matches the tension building in Stormy Creek. Inside the cafe, Samuel and Max are finishing their tea, enjoying a moment of peace after sharing stories of the past. Laughter and warmth fill the air, but outside, the mood is different. The Storm Riders have regrouped, their anger simmering as they prepare for another confrontation. Suddenly, the door to the cafe bursts open with a loud crash. The Storm Riders storm in, their presence darkening the room like a thundercloud. Hunter leads the charge, his eyes blazing with determination. The laughter dies immediately as patrons turn to see what is happening, fear creeping into their expressions. Hunter strides toward Samuel, demanding to know why he has been hiding from his past. The gang members fan out behind him, blocking any exits and creating an atmosphere thick with intimidation. Max instinctively moves closer to Samuel, sensing the danger that has just entered their space. Samuel rises slowly from his seat, his demeanor calm but alert. He knows that he must handle this situation carefully. The sheriff is not far behind. Sheriff Collins enters just moments later, sensing the tension in the air. He stands at the entrance, arms crossed, ready to intervene if necessary. Hunter's voice booms through the cafe as he accuses Samuel of being a coward for turning his back on his legendary status. He demands answers about what really happened in Samuel's past and how he managed to escape the spotlight so easily. The other bikers echo their leader's sentiments, jeering and taunting Samuel while trying to provoke him into a response. The atmosphere grows increasingly charged as patrons watch in stunned silence. Samuel stands firm, refusing to let their words get under his skin. He knows that engaging with them could lead to violence, and he wants to avoid that for Max's sake and everyone else in the cafe. But Hunter is relentless. He steps closer, invading Samuel's personal space. He challenges Samuel's calmness, insisting that it's time for him to face the truth about who he used to be. Tensions reach a boiling point as Hunter's bravado pushes Samuel toward a breaking point. Just as it seems like things might escalate further, one of the bikers suddenly pulls out a weapon, a gleaming knife that catches the light in a menacing way. Sheriff Collins steps forward immediately, his voice steady but firm as he warns the biker to put the weapon down. He knows that violence will only make things worse and is determined to keep everyone safe. The sheriff tries to defuse the situation with authority, reminding them that they are in town and must follow the law. But Hunter shouts back at Collins, refusing to back down. He believes they are above any rules and that they can do whatever they want. The tension escalates further as more bikers join in on the confrontation, shouting insults and threats at both Samuel and the sheriff. Max clings tightly to Samuel's arm, her heart racing as she watches this unfold. She feels scared but also proud of Samuel for standing tall despite the chaos around them. She knows he has faced worse than this before. In a flash of movement, Hunter lunges forward with his knife aimed at Samuel. But before anyone can react, Sheriff Collins steps in between them just in time. A struggle ensues as Hunter tries to push past the sheriff while other bikers shout encouragement from behind him. The cafe erupts into chaos, patrons scream and scramble for cover as tables are knocked over and chairs crash to the ground. Samuel feels adrenaline surge through him. He knows he must act quickly to protect Max and everyone else caught up in this violent confrontation. With quick reflexes honed from years of experience, Samuel reaches for his own weapon, a revolver hidden beneath his coat. He draws it smoothly but does not aim it at anyone yet. Instead, he holds it firmly at his side as a warning. The sight of his revolver catches everyone's attention. Bikers freeze mid-action as they realize who they are dealing with. Hunter hesitates for just a moment, uncertainty flashing across his face as he sees Samuel prepared to defend himself. The sheriff takes advantage of this momentary pause to regain control of the situation. He shouts for everyone to stand down and reminds them that violence will not be tolerated in Stormy Creek. His voice carries authority, it resonates with those who still have sense amidst the chaos. But Hunter is not ready to back down. Fueled by anger and pride, he lunges forward again, this time aiming directly at Samuel with reckless abandon. In an instant filled with tension and uncertainty, the cafe becomes a battleground where legends clash against bullies seeking dominance. As chaos reigns around them, Samuel knows deep within him that this fight will not only determine their fate today but also echo through time, reminding everyone present that true strength comes from standing firm even when faced with overwhelming odds. As Hunter lunges toward Samuel, the tension in the cafe reaches a breaking point. But just as it seems that chaos will reign supreme, a sudden commotion erupts from the side. Max, caught up in the frantic energy of the moment, accidentally trips over a chair. Time seems to slow as she stumbles forward, arms flailing in a desperate attempt to regain her balance. The chair tips over with a loud crash, and Max goes tumbling to the floor. In that split second, her fall sets off a chain reaction that no one could have predicted. The chair collides with another table nearby, sending drinks flying through the air like colorful projectiles. A glass of soda soars across the room, splattering onto a group of startled patrons who had been watching the confrontation unfold. The cafe erupts into chaos, not from violence but from laughter and surprise. Max hits the ground with a soft thud, her eyes wide as she realizes what has just happened. The sight of soda raining down on unsuspecting customers causes an unexpected wave of laughter to ripple through the cafe. People who were once tense and fearful now find themselves chuckling at the absurdity of it all. Hunter freezes mid-lunge, his expression shifting from anger to confusion as he processes this sudden turn of events. The knife he brandished wavers in his hand as he looks around at the chaos unfolding around him. Patrons are laughing and pointing at the mess, their fear momentarily forgotten. The spilled drinks create a slippery floor, and one by one, patrons begin to slip and slide in their attempts to regain their footing. A man in a cowboy hat loses his balance and crashes into another table, sending plates clattering to the ground. Laughter erupts again as people scramble to avoid falling drinks and dishes. Samuel watches this unexpected comedic mishap unfold with a mix of disbelief and amusement. He can't help but chuckle. Even in moments of tension, life finds a way to inject humor into chaos. Max sits on the floor, giggling at herself as she realizes how her clumsiness turned the tide of the confrontation. The sheriff takes advantage of this momentary distraction to regain control of the situation. He steps forward with authority, urging everyone to calm down while trying to keep an eye on Hunter and his gang. The laughter continues to echo through the cafe as people help each other up and clean up the mess. Hunter's bravado falters completely. He looks around at his gang members who are now caught between laughter and confusion. The knife slips from his fingers and clatters to the floor as he realizes that this is not how he envisioned his confrontation with Samuel ending. With laughter filling the air, Samuel seizes this opportunity to address Hunter directly. He stands tall and speaks calmly, reminding everyone that while they may have come looking for trouble, they have instead found something far more valuable: community and laughter amidst chaos. As patrons begin to help clean up spilled drinks and right overturned chairs, Max finally stands up, brushing herself off with a sheepish smile. She glances at Samuel, who gives her an encouraging nod. She feels proud that her little mishap brought some lightness into such a heavy situation. The atmosphere shifts dramatically. What began as a confrontation filled with tension has transformed into a moment of unity among strangers. Even Hunter's gang members start to chuckle at how ridiculous things have become. Realizing that their intimidation tactics have backfired spectacularly, Hunter's gang begins to retreat slowly toward the door. They exchange glances filled with uncertainty. They know they cannot win against such camaraderie and humor. As they exit the cafe, Samuel feels a sense of relief wash over him. The storm outside may still rage on, but inside this little cafe, warmth and laughter prevail. He understands now more than ever that sometimes it takes an unexpected moment, like Max tripping over a chair, to remind everyone of what truly matters: connection and resilience in the face of adversity. With smiles all around, patrons begin sharing stories about their own mishaps while cleaning up together, a sense of community blossoming where fear once reigned. Samuel knows that today has changed something within him. He feels grateful for Max's presence and for how she turned chaos into laughter. As they finish cleaning up together, Samuel realizes that while challenges may come again, they will face them not just as individuals but as part of something greater, a community bound by shared experiences and unexpected moments of joy. As the last of the spilled drinks are cleaned up and laughter begins to fade, a calm settles over the cafe. Samuel takes a moment to look around at the patrons who have come together in this unexpected way. He feels a warmth in his heart, grateful for the community that has rallied around him and Max. Max stands beside him, her eyes bright with excitement from the earlier chaos. She looks up at Samuel, still a bit shaken but also filled with admiration. Samuel kneels down to her level, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. He tells her that he can handle himself, that he has faced tougher challenges before and always found a way through. Max nods, feeling comforted by his words. She admires his strength and knows that he is not just an old cowboy, but someone who carries wisdom from his past. Samuel stands back up, surveying the cafe once more as conversations resume and smiles return to faces. But outside, the storm continues to intensify. The wind howls louder and rain lashes against the windows, creating a stark contrast to the warmth inside. Samuel can sense that this storm is more than just weather, it mirrors the brewing conflict within Stormy Creek. He knows that while today ended on a lighter note, the threat from Hunter and the storm riders still looms large. As he watches raindrops race down the glass, he reflects on how quickly things can change, how one moment can shift from tension to laughter and back again. He understands that life is unpredictable, much like the storm outside. Max glances out the window too, her expression turning serious as she senses Samuel's concern. She asks him if he thinks the storm riders will come back. Samuel pauses for a moment before answering. He knows that they are not finished yet. He tells her that while he hopes they will think twice after today's events, he must be ready for anything. The sound of thunder rumbles in the distance, echoing Samuel's thoughts about facing challenges head-on. He feels a surge of determination. He will not let fear dictate his actions or those of his friends in Stormy Creek. He reassures Max that they will face whatever comes next together, that she is not just a bystander in this story but an important part of it. Her bravery today reminded him of what truly matters, standing strong for those you care about. As they prepare to leave the cafe, Samuel takes one last look around at the community that has gathered, people who have shared laughter and support in times of uncertainty. He knows that no matter what happens next, they will face it together as one united front. With Max by his side, Samuel steps out into the stormy weather, feeling ready for whatever challenges lie ahead. The rain pours down around them like a cleansing force, washing away remnants of fear and doubt. As they walk through Stormy Creek together, Samuel feels a renewed sense of purpose. The storm may rage outside, but inside him burns a fire, a determination to protect those he loves and stand firm against any threat that may come their way. With each step forward into the unknown, Samuel knows that legends are not defined by their pasts, but by how they rise to meet each new challenge with courage and resilience. As Samuel and Max make their way through the rain-soaked streets of Stormy Creek, a sense of unease settles over the town. The storm clouds loom overhead, casting shadows that seem to deepen with every step they take. Samuel's thoughts race as he considers the challenges that lie ahead, but little do they know that a new threat is already on the horizon. Just as they reach the edge of town, a figure appears in the distance, emerging from the rain. Clad in a dark coat and hat pulled low over their face, the newcomer strides purposefully toward them. Samuel feels a shift in the air, an instinctive warning that something is different about this person. Max notices the figure too and grips Samuel's arm tighter, her curiosity piqued. The stranger approaches with an air of confidence, and as they draw closer, Samuel can see a glint of recognition in their eyes. It sends a chill down his spine. He senses that this person knows more about him than he is comfortable with. The newcomer stops just a few feet away, and Samuel can feel the weight of their gaze. There's an intensity in their expression that makes him uneasy. Max looks up at Samuel, sensing his tension but unsure of what to expect. Without introducing themselves, the stranger speaks with a voice that cuts through the sound of rain. They mention details about Samuel's past, stories of his days as 𝗗𝗜𝗏𝗏 Thompson, tales that only someone who truly knew him could recount. Each word feels like a pebble thrown into a still pond, sending ripples of anxiety through Samuel. The stranger continues, revealing knowledge of Samuel's life choices and how he left behind fame for peace. They hint at knowing why he chose to hide away in Stormy Creek and suggest that this quiet life may soon be disrupted. The implications hang heavy in the air like the storm clouds above. Max watches Samuel closely, her eyes wide with concern as she realizes that this newcomer poses a serious threat to their newfound peace. Samuel stands tall but feels a mix of anger and fear rising within him. He is not ready to confront his past again. He thought he had left it behind for good. The stranger leans in slightly, their voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone as they speak about Hunter and the Storm Riders. They warn Samuel that trouble is brewing and that Hunter is not finished with him yet. The gang is regrouping and planning something big, something that could change everything for both Samuel and Stormy Creek. Samuel's heart races as he processes this information. He knows all too well how dangerous Hunter can be when provoked. The storm outside intensifies, mirroring the turmoil within him as he grapples with the reality that his past may come crashing back into his life. Max looks up at Samuel, her expression filled with determination despite the fear swirling around them. She believes in him. She knows he has faced challenges before and emerged stronger each time. But now there is an added pressure, the knowledge that someone from his past is here to stir up trouble. The stranger steps back slightly, allowing Samuel to absorb everything they've said. There's an unspoken challenge in their stance, a reminder that legends cannot hide forever from their history. With one last piercing look, they turn and walk away into the rain, leaving Samuel and Max standing there in stunned silence. As the newcomer disappears into the shadows, Samuel feels a heavy weight settle on his shoulders. He knows he must prepare for what lies ahead. He cannot let fear dictate his actions any longer. With Max by his side, he resolves to confront whatever comes next head-on. The storm may be raging outside, but inside him burns a fire, a determination to protect his home and those he cares about from any threat that dares to approach. As Samuel and Max make their way back to the cafe, the rain continues to pour, creating a rhythmic sound that matches the turmoil in Samuel's mind. He feels the weight of the stranger's words pressing down on him, and he knows he must prepare for whatever is coming. When they enter the cafe, the atmosphere is different. The earlier warmth and laughter have been replaced by hushed whispers and anxious glances. Samuel notices that patrons are exchanging looks filled with concern as he walks in with Max. It doesn't take long for Lily, the waitress, to approach him with a worried expression. Lily leans in close, her voice low as she shares what she has heard. Rumors are swirling around town about Samuel, talk of his past as 𝗛𝗓𝗓 Thompson and questions about whether he will confront it or continue to hide away. She tells him that some people admire him for his bravery in leaving that life behind, while others think he should face his history head-on. Samuel listens intently, feeling a mix of emotions wash over him. He realizes that his decision to live a quiet life has not gone unnoticed. It has sparked conversations among the townsfolk. He understands that while some see him as a hero for choosing peace, others view him as a coward for not standing up to his past. Max stands beside him, sensing the tension in the air. She looks up at Samuel with concern, wondering how he feels about all this talk. Samuel takes a deep breath and thinks about what it means to confront his past. He knows that avoiding it may only lead to more trouble down the line. Lily continues, mentioning that Hunter and the Storm Riders are not just threats to Samuel but also to the entire town. People are worried about what might happen if Hunter decides to come after him again. Some believe that Samuel should take a stand, not just for himself but for everyone in Stormy Creek. Samuel feels a fire ignite within him at Lily's words. He realizes that he cannot let fear dictate his actions any longer. He must protect those he cares about and show them that he is more than just a legend from the past. The thought of standing up for his home fills him with determination. As they talk, other patrons begin to join in on the conversation, sharing their opinions on what Samuel should do. Some encourage him to confront Hunter directly, believing that it would put an end to any future threats. Others caution against it, fearing that provoking the gang could lead to violence. The discussions grow heated as people voice their differing opinions. Samuel listens carefully, taking in each perspective. He understands that this is not just about him, it's about the community that has supported him and how they view his role within it. Max watches Samuel closely, her admiration growing as she sees how he absorbs everything around him. She knows he is weighing his options carefully and understands the importance of this decision. Finally, after hearing from several townsfolk, Samuel feels ready to speak up himself. He thanks everyone for their thoughts and reassures them that he will not shy away from facing his past any longer. He expresses his commitment to protect Stormy Creek and its people. The cafe fills with a sense of renewed hope as patrons nod in agreement with Samuel's words. They can see the determination in his eyes, a promise that he will stand strong against any threat that comes their way. As conversations begin to shift toward plans for what they can do together as a community, Samuel feels a sense of unity forming among them. He knows that whatever challenges lie ahead, they will face them together, stronger as one. With Max by his side and the support of those around him, Samuel prepares himself for the storm ahead, both outside in the weather and within his own heart as he re-engages with a past he thought he had left behind. As days pass, the storm outside seems to mirror the growing tension in Stormy Creek. The rain continues to pour, but it is not just the weather that brings unease, it is the presence of the storm riders, who have become increasingly aggressive in their tactics. Word spreads quickly through town that Hunter and his gang are targeting local businesses, looking for any way to gain leverage against Samuel. They vandalize properties, intimidate shopkeepers, and spread rumors that sow fear among the townsfolk. The once peaceful streets are now filled with whispers of dread as people wonder what the gang will do next. Samuel watches all of this unfold from the cafe, where he has gathered with Max and a few other community members. They discuss the latest incidents, their faces etched with worry. Samuel feels a mix of anger and helplessness as he hears about the damage being done to businesses he cares about. He knows that the storm riders are trying to provoke him, to draw him out of hiding and into a confrontation. Max sits beside him, her expression serious as she listens to the conversations around her. She can see how much this weighs on Samuel. She knows he feels responsible for protecting everyone in town. Samuel's heart races as he considers his options. He understands that staying hidden may keep him safe for now, but it also allows the storm riders to continue their reign of terror. The cafe fills with discussions about what they should do next. Some patrons suggest forming a community watch group to keep an eye on things and protect local businesses. Others believe that Samuel should confront Hunter directly, showing him that they will not be intimidated any longer. As opinions clash, Samuel feels the pressure mounting. He knows that whatever decision he makes will affect not only his life but also the lives of those around him. The fear in their eyes reminds him of why he left his past behind. He wanted a peaceful life away from conflict. But now, it seems that conflict has come knocking at his door once again. The tension escalates further when news arrives that Hunter and his gang have targeted Lily's flower shop. They smashed windows and left threatening messages on her door, demanding she tell them where Samuel is hiding. The news sends shockwaves through the cafe. Everyone turns to Samuel, their expressions filled with concern. Samuel feels a fire ignite within him at the thought of Lily being threatened. He knows he cannot stand by any longer while others suffer because of his past. The decision weighs heavily on him. Should he confront Hunter and risk everything, or remain hidden and let fear dictate their lives? Max looks up at Samuel, her eyes filled with determination. She believes in him and knows that he has the strength to face whatever comes next. Her faith gives him courage as he realizes that running away is no longer an option. As conversations swirl around him, Samuel stands up, feeling a sense of clarity wash over him. He tells everyone that they must stand together against this threat, that they cannot allow fear to control their lives any longer. His voice carries conviction as he speaks about unity and strength in numbers. The room falls silent as everyone processes his words. They can see the determination in Samuel's eyes. They know he is ready to take action. Slowly, nods of agreement begin to ripple through the crowd as they rally behind him. With a renewed sense of purpose, Samuel knows what must be done. He must confront Hunter and show him that Stormy Creek will not be intimidated any longer. It is time to face his past head-on, not just for himself but for everyone who calls this town home. As they prepare to take action together, Samuel feels a surge of hope amidst the brewing storm outside. He understands that while challenges may lie ahead, they will face them united, stronger together against any threat that dares to approach. The atmosphere crackles with tension as Samuel and the townsfolk make their way to the abandoned barn just outside Stormy Creek. The rain has eased, but the air is thick with anticipation. Samuel knows that this confrontation with Hunter is inevitable, and he can feel the weight of his past pressing down on him. As they approach the barn, memories flood Samuel's mind, images of his days as 𝗗𝗓𝗏 Thompson, the cheers of the crowd, and the thrill of competition. But alongside those memories are the darker moments, the rivalries, the duels that ended in tragedy, and the loneliness that followed him into retirement. He had chosen peace over fame, but now it feels like that choice is being challenged. Inside the barn, shadows loom large as Samuel steps forward, his heart pounding in his chest. He knows Hunter and the storm riders are waiting for him. The old wooden beams creak above him, echoing the tension in the air. Max stands close by, her presence a reminder of what he is fighting for. Suddenly, Hunter appears from the shadows, flanked by a few members of his gang. The look on Hunter's face is one of arrogance mixed with anger. He believes he has the upper hand. Samuel stands tall, refusing to show any sign of fear. This is not just about him anymore, it's about protecting his home and everyone he cares about. Hunter taunts Samuel, reminding him of his past glory while questioning his decision to hide away for so long. The words sting, but Samuel remains composed. He knows that Hunter is trying to provoke him into a reaction. Instead of responding with anger, Samuel takes a deep breath and reflects on why he left that life behind. Flashbacks begin to swirl in his mind, moments from competitions where victory felt hollow after taking another man's life. He remembers standing over a rival who had fallen in a duel, feeling a mix of triumph and despair. The cheers that once filled his heart now echoed with regret. He had chosen to walk away from that world because he wanted more than just fame, he wanted peace and connection. As these memories wash over him, Samuel realizes that this confrontation is not just about facing Hunter but also about confronting his own fears and regrets. He understands that he cannot change the past, but he can choose how to respond to it now. Hunter lunges forward, brandishing a weapon, a knife glinting menacingly in the dim light of the barn. The gang members move closer, eager for a fight. But instead of backing down or drawing his own weapon, Samuel stands firm. He speaks calmly but with conviction, reminding Hunter that violence will not solve anything. The tension escalates as Hunter snarls back at Samuel's words. The gang members exchange glances filled with uncertainty. They can see their leader's bravado beginning to falter under Samuel's steady gaze. In this moment of confrontation, Samuel feels a surge of strength within him, a realization that he is not just fighting for himself but for everyone who has been affected by Hunter's actions. He knows that standing up against this bully will not only protect Stormy Creek but also help him reclaim a part of himself that he thought was lost forever. Just as it seems like violence is inevitable, Samuel takes a step forward and challenges Hunter directly, not with weapons drawn but with unwavering resolve. He tells him that true strength lies not in intimidation but in courage and unity. The barn falls silent as everyone processes Samuel's words. For a moment, it seems like time stands still. The storm outside rumbles softly as if echoing their internal struggle. Then suddenly, without warning, one of Hunter's gang members lunges at Samuel. But in an instant filled with reflexes honed from years of experience, Samuel sidesteps and counters swiftly, his movements fluid as he disarms the attacker with precision. As chaos erupts around them, Samuel finds himself at the center of a storm both literal and metaphorical. The barn becomes a battleground where old scores are settled amidst flashes of memory illuminating why he chose peace over violence long ago. With each movement, each dodge and counter, Samuel fights not just against Hunter's gang but also against the shadows of his past. As fists fly and bodies clash, the echoes of regret transform into a powerful determination to protect those who matter most. In this climactic moment, Samuel realizes that legends do not fade away, they evolve. And today marks not just a battle against bullies, but rather an embrace of who he truly is, a protector ready to face whatever comes next. As the chaos intensifies inside the barn, fists are flying, and the sounds of struggle fill the air. Samuel fights with all his strength, dodging blows and countering with precision. But just when it seems like the odds are stacked against him, a sudden commotion at the entrance of the barn draws everyone's attention. A figure bursts through the door, shaking off rainwater like a dog. It's a familiar face, one that Samuel had not seen in years. It's Jake the Hawk Hawkins, a former rival from his sharpshooting days. Jake strides in confidently, his eyes scanning the scene before landing on Samuel. "Looks like I picked a great time to drop by," Jake calls out with a grin, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. The gang members momentarily pause, confusion flickering across their faces as they recognize him. Samuel can't help but chuckle despite the situation. The unexpected arrival of an old rival brings a sense of relief amidst the chaos. Jake has always had a knack for turning serious moments into something lighter with his quick wit. "Thought you were retired from this kind of fun," Samuel replies, dodging another punch while keeping an eye on Jake. "Retirement is overrated." Jake shoots back, stepping into the fray with a swagger that makes it clear he's ready to fight alongside Samuel. "Besides, I heard you could use some help." With that, Jake leaps into action, taking on one of Hunter's gang members with surprising agility. The two men engage in a playful yet fierce exchange of blows, their banter echoing off the barn walls. "Is that all you've got?" Jake taunts as he ducks under a swing and counters with a swift jab to the gut. "I thought storm riders were tougher than this." Samuel can't help but laugh as he watches Jake handle himself with ease. The mood shifts slightly, the tension in the barn lightens as old rivalries turn into camaraderie once more. "Maybe they're just scared of us old-timers," Samuel quips back, feeling invigorated by Jake's presence. Together, they make an unlikely team, two former rivals standing side by side against a common enemy. As they fight together, memories of their past competitions flash through Samuel's mind, days filled with rivalry but also respect for each other's skills. They had pushed each other to be better sharpshooters, and now they are pushing each other to stand strong against this new threat. The gang members begin to falter under the combined force of Samuel and Jake. Their banter continues to flow as they work together seamlessly, dodging attacks and countering with well-timed punches. "Remember that time I beat you at the county fair?" Jake laughs as he lands another blow on an unsuspecting biker. Samuel smirks, recalling the event fondly despite their rivalry at the time. "Yeah, but only because I had a cold that day." The laughter between them serves as a reminder that even in dire situations, there is room for humor and connection. It boosts their morale and energizes them both as they push forward against Hunter's gang. Just when it seems like victory is within reach, Hunter steps back, realizing that his gang is losing ground. He glares at Samuel and Jake, anger boiling beneath the surface. "This isn't over," he shouts defiantly before signaling for his remaining gang members to retreat. As they back away toward the exit, Samuel feels a surge of triumph mixed with relief. He knows that while this battle may have been won, the war against Hunter and his gang is far from over. With Jake by his side and Max watching proudly from a distance, Samuel understands that he has allies now, people willing to stand up for what is right alongside him. The storm outside may still rage on, but within him burns a fire fueled by friendship and determination. As they catch their breath in the aftermath of the fight, Samuel realizes that sometimes unexpected allies can emerge from old rivalries, reminding him that strength comes not just from skill, but also from unity in facing challenges together. As the dust settles in the barn and the echoes of the confrontation fade, Samuel leans against a wooden beam, catching his breath. The adrenaline from the fight still courses through his veins, but there's a deeper realization settling in his heart. He looks over at Jake, who is wiping sweat from his brow and grinning like a man who has just won a prize fight. Max stands nearby, her eyes shining with admiration for both Samuel and Jake. The bond formed in battle has strengthened their resolve, but Samuel knows that this victory is just a momentary reprieve. The storm outside rumbles ominously, reminding him that challenges are far from over. Samuel takes a deep breath, allowing himself to reflect on the choices that brought him back to this moment. He thinks about the years spent running from his past, trying to build a quiet life away from the chaos of his former self. He had hoped that by leaving behind the title of 𝗗𝗦𝗏𝗏 Thompson, he could escape the weight of expectations and confrontations that came with it. But now, standing here with allies beside him and the threat of Hunter looming large, he realizes that he cannot escape his legacy forever. The past is not something to be buried, it is a part of who he is. Each decision he made, every competition fought, every rival faced, has shaped him into the man he is today. As he reflects on those choices, Samuel feels a sense of acceptance wash over him. He understands that while he sought peace, true strength comes from embracing all aspects of oneself, both the light and the dark. The lessons learned from his past are not burdens, they are tools that can help him navigate the challenges ahead. He looks at Max and Jake, feeling grateful for their support. They remind him that he is not alone in this fight, they are willing to stand by him as he confronts whatever comes next. Together, they form a united front against any threat that dares to challenge their community. With renewed determination, Samuel straightens up and prepares himself for what lies ahead. He knows that Hunter will not back down easily, the gang will regroup and come after them again. But this time, Samuel is ready to face them, not just as an old cowboy, but as a protector who understands the value of unity and resilience. As they leave the barn together, stepping out into the cool night air, Samuel feels a sense of purpose guiding him forward. The storm may still rage outside, but within him burns a fire fueled by courage and camaraderie. He knows that whatever challenges await them, whether it be Hunter's return or other unforeseen threats, they will face them together as allies bound by shared experiences and mutual respect. Samuel embraces his legacy as part of who he is and understands that legends do not fade away, they evolve through every trial faced and every bond formed. With each step into the unknown, Samuel feels ready to confront his past head-on while protecting those he loves most. The journey ahead may be fraught with danger, but he knows they will rise to meet it, stronger together against any storm. As the days pass in Stormy Creek, the atmosphere grows thick with tension. The storm clouds that once seemed to linger merely as a backdrop now feel like a reflection of the brewing conflict within the town. Samuel, Jake, and Max prepare for the inevitable return of Hunter and his gang, but little do they know that an even older adversary is about to resurface. One afternoon, while Samuel is helping to reinforce the cafe's windows with boards alongside Max and Jake, he hears whispers among the townsfolk. They speak of strange happenings, unfamiliar faces seen lurking around town and rumors of a new threat emerging. Samuel feels a knot tighten in his stomach, he knows that trouble is on the horizon. As they work, Samuel's thoughts drift back to his past, the rivalries he thought he had left behind. He recalls one particular adversary, a man named 𝗵𝗐𝗏𝗏, known for his cunning and ruthlessness. Victor had been a fierce competitor in their younger days, and their rivalry had ended on bitter terms. Samuel had narrowly escaped a duel with him long ago, but he never thought he would see him again. That evening, as darkness falls over Stormy Creek, Samuel gathers with the townsfolk at the cafe to discuss their plans for dealing with Hunter and his gang. The mood is serious as they share their fears and strategies. Just as they begin to feel united in their resolve, the door swings open with a loud bang. A figure steps inside, a tall man with a menacing presence and a familiar sneer. It's Victor Steele. The room goes silent as everyone turns to face him, shock washing over their faces. Samuel's heart sinks as memories flood back. He remembers all too well the danger Victor represents. Victor scans the room with cold eyes before settling on Samuel. A smirk spreads across his face as he takes a step forward, clearly relishing the tension he has just created. "Well, well, if it isn't 𝗏𝗏𝗦𝗏𝗧𝗏 Thompson," he taunts, his voice dripping with disdain. "I heard you were hiding out here in this little town." Samuel feels anger rise within him, but knows that reacting impulsively could lead to disaster. He stands tall and meets Victor's gaze with unwavering determination. The townsfolk shift uneasily, sensing the weight of this confrontation. Victor continues his taunts, revealing that he has come to settle old scores. He speaks of how he has watched Samuel from afar, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. His vendetta is personal. He believes that Samuel wronged him all those years ago when he chose peace over competition. As Victor's words hang in the air, Samuel realizes that this is not just about him, it's about protecting everything he has built in Stormy Creek. The stakes are higher than ever as tensions escalate around them. The atmosphere thickens with uncertainty. Patrons exchange worried glances while others look to Samuel for guidance. He knows that confronting Victor will not only test his resolve but also challenge everything he has worked for since leaving behind his past. With a surge of courage, Samuel steps forward to face Victor directly. He refuses to let fear dictate his actions any longer. He reminds Victor that they are not in the past anymore. This is a new chapter where violence will not solve anything. But Victor laughs mockingly at Samuel's words, dismissing them as weakness. He raises his voice, challenging Samuel to prove himself once again, to show that he still has what it takes to be called a legend. As tensions reach a boiling point, Samuel understands that this moment could change everything for Stormy Creek. The threat from Hunter may be looming on one side, but now Victor stands before him, a reminder that old rivalries can resurface when least expected. In this moment of confrontation, Samuel feels both fear and determination surge within him. He knows that whatever happens next will define not only his legacy but also the future of those he cares about most. The storm outside rumbles ominously as if echoing the turmoil within. It is clear that Stormy Creek stands at a tipping point, a moment where choices made will determine whether they rise together or fall apart. As Samuel stands face to face with Victor Steele, the tension in the cafe is palpable. Max watches from the sidelines, her heart racing as she takes in the unfolding confrontation. She admires Samuel's courage, but a wave of fear washes over her as she considers the implications of Victor's return. Max has always looked up to Samuel, seeing him not just as an old cowboy but as a legendary sharpshooter with a past filled with stories and bravery. But now, with Victor in town, she worries about what might happen if others learn too much about Samuel's history. The townsfolk have begun to rally around him, and she fears that revealing his past could put them all in danger. As Samuel and Victor exchange heated words, Max feels torn. She wants to support Samuel and stand by his side, but she also understands the weight of the legacy he carries. The stories of his past could easily become ammunition for those who wish to harm him or the community he has come to protect. Max remembers the conversations she overheard in the cafe about Samuel's legendary status and how some townsfolk view him as a hero while others see him as a relic of a bygone era. She knows that any slip of information could shift opinions and turn allies into enemies. The thought sends a shiver down her spine. As the confrontation escalates between Samuel and Victor, Max feels an urge to intervene. She wants to remind everyone that Samuel is more than just his past, he is a protector who has chosen to stand up for Stormy Creek. But how can she do that without exposing too much of his history? The storm outside rages on, mirroring the turmoil inside her mind. Max takes a deep breath, trying to gather her thoughts. She knows that she must be careful with her words if she decides to speak up. The stakes are high, and any misstep could lead to disaster. Just then, as Victor taunts Samuel again, Max steps forward, her voice steady despite her racing heart. She reminds everyone present that legends are made not just by their past, but by their choices in the present. She emphasizes that Samuel has chosen to protect their community and stand against threats like Hunter and Victor. The room goes silent as everyone turns to listen. Max feels a surge of courage as she speaks from her heart, sharing how Samuel has inspired her and many others in Stormy Creek. She highlights his bravery in facing challenges head-on and how he has always put others before himself. As she finishes speaking, Max looks around at the faces of the townsfolk. Some nod in agreement, while others still seem unsure. But she knows that she has planted a seed of understanding, that Samuel's legacy is not just about his past, but about who he is today. Samuel glances at Max with gratitude shining in his eyes. Her words have given him strength. They remind him that he is not alone in this fight. Together, they can face whatever comes next. Victor sneers at Max's speech, but cannot deny the impact it has had on those around them. The tension shifts slightly. There is a sense of unity forming among the townsfolk as they rally behind Samuel once more. Max realizes that while she may have been afraid of revealing too much about Samuel's history, it is equally important to celebrate who he has become, a protector willing to stand against anyone who threatens their home. As Samuel prepares to confront Victor again, Max feels a renewed sense of hope within her. She knows that together they can rise above their fears and face whatever challenges lie ahead. In this moment of re-engagement, Max understands that true strength comes not just from legendary status, but from the bonds forged through shared experiences and unwavering support for one another. As the tension in the cafe begins to settle, Samuel realizes that he cannot face Victor and Hunter alone. He knows that to protect Stormy Creek, he must forge alliances with others who are willing to stand up against the growing threat. The storm outside continues to rumble, mirroring the brewing conflict within the town. Samuel gathers a small group of trusted townsfolk, including Max and Jake, to discuss their next steps. He emphasizes the importance of unity and how they must prepare for whatever Victor and Hunter might throw at them. The group listens intently, their expressions serious as they understand the gravity of the situation. However, not everyone is on board with Samuel's plan. Among those gathered is an old friend named Tom, who had once stood by Samuel's side during his sharpshooting days. Tom has always been a loyal ally, but now there is a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Samuel can sense that something is off. As they discuss strategies, Tom speaks up hesitantly, expressing doubts about confronting Victor directly. He argues that it might be safer to lay low and avoid any confrontation with the bikers. Samuel feels a pang of disappointment. He had hoped for Tom's support in this critical moment. The conversation grows heated as other townsfolk weigh in on Tom's concerns. Some agree with him, fearing that provoking Victor could lead to violence that would endanger everyone in Stormy Creek. Samuel tries to reassure them, reminding them of the importance of standing together against bullies. But as discussions continue, Samuel notices Tom's demeanor shifting. He seems increasingly anxious, glancing toward the door as if expecting someone to arrive. Samuel's instincts tell him that Tom is struggling with something deeper, perhaps pressure from outside forces. Just then, a loud crash echoes from outside as a group of bikers rides into town, their engines roaring like thunder. The atmosphere shifts dramatically. Fear ripples through the gathered crowd as they realize that Hunter has sent his gang to intimidate them further. Tom's expression changes completely as he sees the bikers approach. The pressure becomes too much for him. He suddenly steps back from the group and raises his hands in defeat. "I can't do this," he mutters, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't fight them." Samuel feels his heart sink as he watches his old friend turn away from him and the group. It becomes clear that Tom has succumbed to fear and pressure from the bikers. He is betraying their cause just when they need unity most. As Tom walks away, Samuel feels a mix of anger and sadness. He understands that fear can make people act in ways they never thought possible, but it still stings to see someone he trusted turn against him. With Tom gone, Samuel knows he must rally those who remain committed to standing up against Hunter and Victor. He turns back to Max and Jake, determination burning in his eyes. They cannot let betrayal weaken their resolve. Instead, they must work even harder to protect their community. The bikers pull up outside the cafe, their presence looming like a dark cloud over Stormy Creek. Samuel takes a deep breath and prepares himself for what is to come. He knows that this moment will test not only his strength, but also the bonds he has forged with those who believe in him. As the bikers dismount and swagger toward the cafe, Samuel stands tall with Max and Jake at his side. He understands that while betrayal may come from within, true strength lies in those who choose to fight for what is right despite the odds stacked against them. The storm may be raging outside, but within Samuel burns a fire fueled by courage and determination, a reminder that legends are not defined by their pasts, but by how they rise together against any threat. As the bikers swagger toward the cafe, the atmosphere thickens with tension. Samuel stands firm, flanked by Max and Jake, their determination palpable. The door swings open, and Hunter steps inside, a smug grin on his face as he surveys the scene. He knows he has come to intimidate, but Samuel is ready to show him that fear will not dictate their lives any longer. The cafe fills with patrons who have gathered to support Samuel, their eyes wide with anticipation. They can feel the weight of the moment. It is not just about Samuel, but about the future of Stormy Creek. Samuel takes a deep breath, his heart racing as he prepares for what lies ahead. As Hunter begins to taunt Samuel, calling him a coward for hiding behind others, flashbacks flood Samuel's mind. He remembers the fierce competitions of his youth, the thrill of standing on stage as 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗛𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 He recalls moments of triumph and defeat, but most importantly, he remembers the pain of loss, the friends he lost to violence and rivalry. Those memories shape his resolve now. He knows he must protect those he cares about. The tension in the cafe escalates as Hunter's gang members step forward, fists clenched and ready for a fight. Samuel feels a surge of adrenaline. He knows that this is the moment he has been preparing for. He glances at Max and Jake, who nod in silent agreement, ready to stand by him no matter what. Suddenly, chaos erupts as one of the bikers lunges at Samuel. In an instant filled with reflexes honed from years of experience, Samuel sidesteps and counters with a swift punch that sends his attacker sprawling. The cafe erupts into action as patrons jump into the fray, defending their home against the intruders. Samuel fights with all his might, recalling flashbacks of past battles, each one teaching him valuable lessons about courage and resilience. He remembers how he chose to walk away from violence, but understands now that sometimes you must fight to protect what you love. As fists fly and bodies clash, Samuel feels a sense of unity among those around him. The townsfolk rally together, fighting back against the storm riders with a fierce determination that surprises even themselves. They are no longer just bystanders, they are warriors defending their home. In the midst of the chaos, Samuel catches sight of Lily behind the counter, fear etched on her face as she watches her cafe being attacked. He knows he must protect her and everyone else who has stood by him during this tumultuous time. With renewed strength, Samuel pushes forward through the fray. He fights not just for himself, but for Lily and every person in Stormy Creek who believes in standing up against bullies. Each punch thrown is fueled by memories of loss and triumph, reminders that legends are forged in battle and shaped by choices made in moments of crisis. As the battle rages on, Hunter tries to rally his gang members, shouting orders and threats. But it becomes clear that they are losing ground against the united front of townsfolk who refuse to back down. The tide is turning, Samuel can feel it. Just when it seems like victory is within reach, Victor Steele reappears from the shadows of the cafe, eyes blazing with anger. He lunges at Samuel with a fierce determination to settle old scores once and for all. The two men collide in a whirlwind of punches and grappling, a clash between past rivals that echoes through time. Flashbacks flood Samuel's mind again, memories of their fierce competitions filled with tension and rivalry. But now there is something different. This fight is not just about pride, but about protecting everything he holds dear. With each blow exchanged between them, Samuel feels himself drawing strength from those memories, reminding him why he left behind a life filled with violence and why he must stand firm against those who threaten his newfound peace. As they struggle against each other in a dance of power and determination, Samuel knows that this climactic battle will define not only his legacy but also the future of Stormy Creek. He cannot afford to lose, not now when so much is at stake. The storm outside rumbles louder than ever as if urging him on. With one final surge of energy fueled by courage and camaraderie, Samuel finds an opening and counters Victor's attack with precision, a move honed from years spent perfecting his skills. In this moment filled with intensity, Samuel understands that legends do not fade away, they evolve through every trial faced. As he stands tall against Victor amidst chaos, he embraces his past while forging a new path forward for himself and for everyone in Stormy Creek. As the battle rages on, fists flying and shouts echoing through the cafe, the tension is palpable. Samuel and Victor are locked in a fierce struggle, each trying to gain the upper hand. The air is thick with adrenaline and determination, but just as the intensity reaches its peak, an unexpected moment of levity breaks through the chaos. In the midst of the fight, one of Hunter's gang members, caught up in the frenzy, stumbles backward. He trips over a chair and crashes into a nearby table where a freshly baked pie sits. The pie, a delicious-looking blueberry creation, goes flying into the air, its filling splattering everywhere as it lands squarely on the biker's lap. For a brief moment, time seems to freeze. The biker looks down in disbelief, his eyes wide as he realizes what has just happened. Blueberry filling drips down his legs, and the sight is so absurd that laughter erupts from the patrons who had been tense just moments before. Max can't help but giggle at the sight, and soon Samuel finds himself chuckling despite the seriousness of their situation. Even Jake bursts out laughing, shaking his head at the ridiculousness of it all. The laughter spreads through the cafe like wildfire, cutting through the tension and reminding everyone that even in dire circumstances, there is room for humor. The biker, now covered in pie, tries to regain his composure but only manages to look more foolish as he wipes at his face with sticky hands. His fellow gang members pause mid-fight, confused by the sudden shift in mood. They glance at each other, unsure whether to laugh or continue their aggression. Samuel seizes this moment of distraction. With Victor still reeling from their earlier exchange and the bikers momentarily thrown off balance by the unexpected comedy, Samuel knows he must act quickly. He pushes forward with renewed energy, using this brief respite to gain an advantage. The laughter from the townsfolk fuels Samuel's determination. He understands that they are united in this fight against bullies. The pie incident has reminded everyone that they are not just fighting for themselves, but for each other, a community standing strong together. As Samuel lands a decisive blow against Victor, he feels a surge of confidence wash over him. The laughter has shifted the tide of battle. It has reminded everyone present that they can find strength even in moments of chaos. With renewed vigor and camaraderie bolstered by laughter, Samuel and his allies push back against Hunter's gang. The bikers begin to falter as they realize they are not just facing an old cowboy, but a united front of townsfolk willing to stand up for their home. The storm outside rumbles again as if cheering them on. It feels like nature itself is rooting for Samuel and his friends. In this moment filled with both intensity and humor, Samuel understands that legends are not only defined by their battles but also by how they rise together amidst adversity. As they continue to fight back against Hunter's gang, Samuel knows that this battle will be remembered, not just for its challenges, but for how laughter and unity can shine even in the darkest of times. As the dust settles in the cafe and the last of Hunter's gang retreats, a sense of victory fills the air. Samuel stands amidst his allies, breathing heavily from the exertion of the fight. Laughter and cheers erupt from the townsfolk, celebrating their hard-won triumph. But as Samuel looks around, he feels a weight pressing down on him, a reminder that while they have won this battle, the cost has been high. The cafe is in disarray, tables are overturned, and remnants of the fight are scattered everywhere. Samuel's heart swells with pride for his friends who stood by him, but he can't shake the feeling of unease that lingers in his chest. He knows that this victory does not erase the scars of his past or the challenges that lie ahead. As he surveys the scene, memories flood back, images of past confrontations, rivalries, and losses that shaped him into who he is today. He realizes that while he has tried to leave his past behind, it is an inseparable part of him. The choices he made as a sharpshooter and the battles fought have left their mark, and he wonders if he can ever truly escape them. The storm outside finally breaks, rain pouring down in heavy sheets. The sound of raindrops hitting the roof creates a rhythm that matches the turmoil within him. It feels as if nature itself is reflecting his inner struggle, a reminder that even amidst victory, there can be sorrow. Max approaches Samuel, her expression a mix of concern and admiration. She can see the conflict in his eyes and knows that this moment is not just about celebration, it's also about reflection. She reaches out to touch his arm gently, grounding him in the present. Samuel takes a deep breath, trying to push aside the doubt swirling in his mind. He understands that while he has fought hard to protect Stormy Creek, he must also confront what lies within himself. The past may haunt him, but it does not have to define his future. As rain pours down outside, Samuel feels a sense of cleansing wash over him. It is a reminder that storms eventually pass and that new beginnings can emerge from even the darkest moments. He knows that while he cannot change what has happened, he can choose how to move forward. With renewed determination, Samuel turns back to his friends gathered in the cafe. They have shown him what it means to stand together against adversity, to rise above fear and embrace unity. He realizes that this community has become his family, they are worth fighting for. In this moment of clarity, Samuel understands that legends are not just about past glories but about how one chooses to face challenges head-on, how they evolve and grow through every trial faced. He may carry scars from his past, but they are reminders of strength and resilience. As laughter begins to fill the cafe again amidst the aftermath of their victory, Samuel allows himself to smile. He knows that while there will always be shadows from his past, there will also be light, hope for a brighter future alongside those who believe in him. With Max by his side and the support of his friends around him, Samuel feels ready to embrace whatever comes next. The storm may rage outside, but inside him burns a fire fueled by courage and camaraderie, a reminder that together they can weather any storm. In the aftermath of the chaotic battle at Lily's Cafe, Stormy Creek is left to pick up the pieces. The laughter and camaraderie that filled the air moments ago are now overshadowed by a sense of unease. Samuel stands with Max and Jake, surveying the damage done during the fight. The cafe is in disarray, and the townsfolk are still processing what has happened. As the rain continues to pour outside, Samuel knows that their victory has drawn attention, not just from those who support them, but also from those who seek revenge. The storm outside seems to mirror the brewing conflict within the town, and Samuel feels a knot tighten in his stomach as he considers the implications. The sound of sirens suddenly pierces through the air, causing everyone to turn their heads toward the entrance. A law enforcement vehicle pulls up outside, and Sheriff Collins steps out, his expression serious. He approaches Samuel and the others with a mix of concern and authority. Sheriff Collins begins to question what happened at the cafe, his tone firm but understanding. He knows that tensions have been high in Stormy Creek, but he also understands that violence can lead to further trouble. As he listens to Samuel recount the events, he realizes that this confrontation could have serious repercussions for both Samuel and the town. Just as they begin to discuss how to move forward, another vehicle pulls up, a menacing sight as it bears the colors of Hunter's gang. The bikers who had fled earlier have returned, eyes filled with anger and determination. They are not here to back down, they are seeking revenge for their defeat. Samuel feels a surge of adrenaline as he prepares for another confrontation. He knows that Hunter will not let this go easily. He will use every resource at his disposal to retaliate against those who stood against him. The storm outside rumbles ominously, echoing Samuel's thoughts about the brewing conflict. As Hunter steps out of his vehicle, flanked by his gang members, tension fills the air once more. He glares at Samuel with a look of fury, making it clear that he holds a personal grudge against him for disrupting their plans. The bikers begin to advance toward the cafe, and Samuel can sense that they are ready for a fight. Sheriff Collins steps forward, trying to assert control over the situation. He warns Hunter that any further violence will not be tolerated in Stormy Creek. But Hunter simply laughs at the sheriff's words, dismissing him as weak and ineffective. Max stands close to Samuel, her heart racing as she watches this confrontation unfold. She can feel the fear in the air but also recognizes the strength in Samuel's resolve. She knows they must stand together against this threat once more. As tensions escalate between law enforcement and Hunter's gang, Samuel realizes that they are now at the center of a tempest, a storm that threatens not just their safety but also their future in Stormy Creek. He understands that this moment will define everything they have fought for. The townsfolk begin to gather outside, watching with worried expressions as events unfold. They are torn between fear of retaliation from Hunter's gang and admiration for Samuel's bravery in standing up against bullies. Samuel takes a deep breath, feeling both fear and determination surge within him once again. He knows that whatever happens next will shape not only his legacy but also the fate of everyone in Stormy Creek. As Hunter's gang closes in, Samuel steels himself for what lies ahead. He understands that they must be ready to fight, not just for themselves, but for their home and everything they hold dear. The storm may rage on outside, but within him burns a fire fueled by courage and camaraderie, a reminder that together they can face any challenge head-on. As the tension builds outside Lily's cafe, the townsfolk gather in small groups, their voices a mix of concern and admiration for Samuel. Some see him as a hero, a man who stood up against bullies and fought for what is right. Others whisper doubts, questioning whether his actions have put everyone in danger. The conflicting opinions swirl around like the storm clouds above, creating an atmosphere thick with uncertainty. Max stands near the cafe entrance, listening intently to the conversations unfolding around her. She can hear snippets of praise for Samuel's bravery, but also murmurs of worry about the consequences of provoking Hunter's gang. The mixed sentiments weigh heavily on her heart as she grapples with her own feelings about Samuel's actions. In one corner, a group of older townsfolk discuss how Samuel has always been a protector of Stormy Creek. They reminisce about his past as 𝗗𝗓𝗏 Thompson and how he earned respect through his sharpshooting skills. They believe that standing up to Hunter is a necessary act to ensure their safety. But in another corner, younger residents express their fears. They worry that Samuel's confrontation with the bikers could lead to more violence and chaos in their peaceful town. They question whether Samuel is truly a hero or if he has become a menace by stirring up trouble. Max feels torn between these viewpoints. She admires Samuel for his courage but also understands the risks involved in standing up to dangerous people. She reflects on her own definition of bravery, wondering if it means facing fear head-on or if it sometimes requires knowing when to step back. As she watches Samuel prepare for what lies ahead, she feels a mix of pride and anxiety. She knows he is willing to fight for them, but she also fears that his determination could lead to reckless decisions. Max struggles with the idea that bravery can take many forms. Sometimes it means fighting, while other times it means protecting those you love by being cautious. The storm outside rumbles ominously, echoing her internal conflict. Max takes a deep breath, trying to find clarity amidst the chaos around her. She knows that whatever happens next will shape not only Samuel's legacy but also the future of Stormy Creek. As conversations continue among the locals, Max feels compelled to speak up. She gathers her courage and steps forward, wanting to remind everyone that they are all in this together, that they must support each other regardless of differing opinions. "Samuel is fighting for us," she begins, her voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling in her heart. "He believes in protecting our home, and we should stand by him." The townsfolk turn to listen, some nodding in agreement while others still look hesitant. Max continues, expressing her belief that bravery comes from unity, not just from one person standing alone against threats, but from a community coming together to support one another. As she speaks, Max feels a sense of empowerment wash over her. She realizes that while there may be differing opinions about Samuel's actions, what truly matters is how they respond as a community facing challenges together. With renewed determination, Max looks at Samuel, who stands ready to confront whatever comes next. She knows that they can rise above fear and uncertainty if they unite behind their shared values and support one another through thick and thin. In this moment of re-engagement, Max understands that true bravery is not just about fighting, it's about standing together against adversity, embracing both courage and caution as they navigate the storm ahead. As the storm continues to pour down on Stormy Creek, the atmosphere is charged with uncertainty. After the confrontation with Hunter's gang, Samuel knows that the danger is far from over. The townsfolk are still buzzing with mixed emotions, and he can sense that new threats are looming just beyond the horizon. In the days that follow, Samuel finds himself grappling with a difficult choice. He stands at a crossroads, torn between staying to protect his home and leaving to avoid further conflict. The memories of his past weigh heavily on him, reminding him of the violence he thought he had left behind. He wonders if it would be safer to pack up and leave once more, to seek peace away from the chaos. Max watches Samuel closely as he wrestles with his thoughts. She can see the turmoil in his eyes, and it worries her deeply. Their bond has grown stronger through recent events, and she knows that whatever decision he makes will affect them both. She admires his bravery but also understands the toll that fighting can take on a person. One evening, as they sit together in the cafe, Max decides to confront the issue head-on. She expresses her concerns about Samuel's well-being and the weight of his past. She reminds him that while leaving may seem like an easy way out, it could also mean abandoning those who rely on him. Samuel listens intently, feeling a mix of gratitude and frustration. He knows Max is right. There are people in Stormy Creek who look up to him and depend on his strength. But the fear of repeating past mistakes looms large in his mind. He reflects on how hard it has been to find peace and how quickly it can be disrupted by violence. As they talk, Max shares her own fears about what might happen if Samuel decides to leave. She admits that she has come to rely on him not just as a protector but as a friend who inspires her to be brave. In this moment of vulnerability, Max reveals that she believes true strength lies in facing challenges together, not running away from them. Samuel feels a surge of emotion at her words. He realizes how much he values their relationship and how it has changed him for the better. Max's unwavering support gives him hope and strength. He knows he cannot turn his back on her or the community that has rallied around him. With renewed determination, Samuel begins to see a different path forward. Instead of viewing his past as a burden, he understands that it can be a source of strength, something that has shaped him into the man he is today. He decides that he will not allow fear to dictate his actions any longer. As they continue their conversation, Samuel expresses his desire to stay and fight for Stormy Creek, not just against external threats, but also for the future they can build together. He acknowledges that challenges will come, but with Max by his side and the support of their friends, they can face whatever lies ahead. The storm outside rumbles softly as if echoing their resolve. Samuel feels a sense of clarity wash over him. He knows now that leaving would mean abandoning everything he has fought for, not just for himself but for those who believe in him. With this decision made, Samuel embraces Max's hand tightly, feeling grateful for her presence in his life. Together, they prepare to face whatever new threats emerge from outside Stormy Creek, ready to stand strong against any challenge that may come their way. As the days pass, the atmosphere in Stormy Creek grows increasingly tense. Word spreads that Hunter's gang is rallying for revenge against Samuel, and the townsfolk prepare for a town meeting to address the escalating conflict. Samuel knows that this meeting will be crucial. It's a chance to unite the community against the threats they face. On the night of the meeting, the town hall fills with anxious residents. Samuel stands at the front, flanked by Max and Jake, feeling the weight of their expectations on his shoulders. The air is thick with uncertainty as people whisper about what might happen if Hunter and his gang show up. Samuel can sense that fear is creeping back into the hearts of those he has fought to protect. As the meeting begins, Sheriff Collins takes charge, trying to maintain order and calm the crowd. He speaks about the importance of standing together against outside threats, but Samuel can see that not everyone is convinced. Some townsfolk still harbor doubts about whether Samuel's actions have put them all in danger. Just then, the doors swing open with a loud bang, and Hunter strides in, flanked by several members of his gang. The room falls silent as everyone turns to face them. Tension crackles in the air. It feels as if a storm is brewing inside the town hall. Hunter smirks as he surveys the room, clearly enjoying the fear he instills in others. He calls out to Samuel, taunting him about his so-called bravery and questioning whether he really believes he can protect anyone. The crowd shifts uneasily, torn between their loyalty to Samuel and their fear of Hunter's gang. In this moment of confrontation, flashbacks flood Samuel's mind, memories of his past as 𝗗𝗓𝗏 Thompson. He recalls moments of glory and triumph, but also remembers the pain of loss and regret that followed him into retirement. He thinks about why he left that life behind, not just for himself but for the chance to build something better. As Hunter continues to provoke him, Samuel feels a surge of determination rise within him. He understands now that he cannot let fear dictate his actions any longer. He must confront not only Hunter but also his own past, embracing who he is now versus who he was then. With each taunt from Hunter, Samuel recalls moments from his journey, learning to let go of old rivalries, finding strength in community, and realizing that true bravery comes from standing up for what is right. These memories shape his resolve as he prepares to speak. Taking a deep breath, Samuel steps forward and addresses both Hunter and the townsfolk. He speaks passionately about unity and strength, reminding everyone that they are stronger together than apart. He acknowledges his past, but emphasizes how it has shaped him into a protector rather than a bully. The crowd listens intently as Samuel shares his journey toward acceptance, how he learned that legends are not defined by their pasts, but by how they rise to meet challenges head-on. His words resonate with many in the room. They begin to see him not just as an old cowboy, but as a leader willing to fight for their future. But Hunter is not easily swayed. He scoffs at Samuel's speech and steps closer, challenging him directly. The tension reaches its peak as both men stand face to face, ready for confrontation. The townsfolk hold their breath, unsure of what will happen next. In this critical moment, Samuel feels a rush of adrenaline. He knows that this standoff will define everything they have fought for in Stormy Creek. With Max and Jake beside him and the support of their friends behind him, he stands tall against Hunter's intimidation. The storm outside rumbles ominously as if mirroring the turmoil within. It is clear that this battle will determine not only Samuel's legacy but also the fate of everyone in Stormy Creek. As the tension in the room thickens, Samuel and Hunter stand locked in a fierce standoff, each man unwilling to back down. The townsfolk watch with bated breath, the air heavy with anticipation. Just as it seems that the confrontation is about to erupt, a voice breaks through the intensity. Max, feeling the weight of the moment and wanting to contribute, raises her hand to speak. However, in her eagerness, she mispronounces an important term. Instead of saying retribution, she stumbles and says retributionation. The slip of the tongue echoes through the hall, and for a brief moment, silence falls as everyone processes what they just heard. Then, as if a dam has broken, laughter erupts from the crowd. The tension that had filled the room moments before dissipates in an instant. Even Samuel can't help but chuckle at Max's mistake. Hunter's expression shifts from anger to confusion, and he stares at Max as if trying to figure out what just happened. The townsfolk begin to share in the laughter, their nervousness easing as they realize that even in the face of danger, there is still room for humor. Max blushes, but smiles sheepishly, relieved that she could lighten the mood even if just for a moment. In this unexpected moment of levity, Samuel feels a shift within himself. The laughter reminds him that they are all in this together, that even when stakes are high, they can find joy and connection amidst chaos. It reinforces his belief that standing together against adversity is what truly matters. As the laughter dies down, Samuel takes a deep breath and looks around at his friends and neighbors. He sees their smiles and knows that they are ready to support him against Hunter and his gang. The sense of unity among them feels stronger than before. Hunter, realizing he has lost some of his intimidation factor due to Max's blunder, tries to regain control of the situation. He glares at Samuel, but now with less confidence. The townsfolk's laughter has given them a renewed sense of courage. They are no longer just passive observers, but active participants in this fight for their home. With the tension broken and spirits lifted, Samuel seizes this opportunity to rally his friends once more. He addresses the crowd with renewed vigor, reminding them that they have faced challenges before and emerged stronger together. He emphasizes that they cannot let fear dictate their actions, they must stand united against any threat. Max stands beside him, feeling empowered by her small contribution to breaking the tension. She understands that bravery comes in many forms. Sometimes it means fighting back, and other times it means lifting spirits when they are low. As Samuel speaks passionately about their shared strength and resilience, he can see determination shining in the eyes of those around him. The storm outside may still rage on, but within Stormy Creek burns a fire fueled by camaraderie and hope, a reminder that together they can weather any storm. With renewed resolve, Samuel prepares for whatever comes next. He knows that while challenges lie ahead, they will face them as one, ready to protect their home and each other against any threat that dares to approach. As the laughter fades and the energy in the room shifts back to focus, Samuel stands tall, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He embraces his identity as both protector and sharpshooter, understanding that these roles are intertwined with who he is. He can no longer run from his past, instead, he must accept it as part of his journey. With Hunter and his gang momentarily pushed back, Samuel feels a wave of relief wash over him. The storm outside has calmed, the rain now a gentle patter against the windows. Inside Stormy Creek, however, there is still work to be done. The battle may have been won, but the fight for peace and unity continues. As Samuel looks around at the faces of the townsfolk, he sees determination and hope reflected in their eyes. They have rallied together, proving that they are stronger as a community than they are as individuals. He knows that this bond will be essential as they rebuild after the chaos. Max stands beside him, her presence a source of strength. Samuel glances at her and sees the admiration in her eyes, not just for his past but for who he has become. She no longer sees him merely as a legend, she sees him as family, someone who has fought for their home and their future. With this realization, Samuel feels a sense of warmth fill his heart. He understands that relationships matter just as much as bravery in battle. He must work to rebuild connections with those he cares about, especially with Max. Their bond has deepened through shared experiences, and he wants to nurture that connection moving forward. As the townsfolk begin to discuss plans for rebuilding and healing, Samuel steps forward to address them once more. He expresses gratitude for their support and emphasizes the importance of unity in facing future challenges. Together, they can create a safe and thriving community where everyone feels valued. The crowd responds with nods of agreement and murmurs of encouragement. Samuel feels a surge of pride. This is what he fought for, a place where people stand together against adversity. After the meeting concludes, Samuel finds Max standing off to the side, her expression thoughtful. He approaches her with a smile, ready to talk about what lies ahead for them both. Max looks up at him with sincerity in her eyes. She tells him how much she admires his courage and how proud she is to stand by his side. In this moment, Samuel realizes that their relationship has grown into something deeper, one built on trust, respect, and shared experiences. He reaches out and takes her hand gently, feeling an unspoken connection between them. Together they have faced challenges and emerged stronger. Now they can look toward the future with hope. As peace settles over Stormy Creek once more, Samuel feels ready to embrace whatever comes next. He knows that while he cannot escape who he is, a legendary sharpshooter with a complicated past, he can choose how to use that legacy to protect those he loves. With Max by his side and the support of their friends around them, Samuel is determined to build a brighter future for Stormy Creek, one filled with laughter, unity, and resilience against any storm that may come their way. As the dust settles in Stormy Creek and the laughter of the townsfolk fills the air, a new voice emerges to provide perspective on the events that have transpired. The judge, a figure of authority and wisdom, steps forward to address the community. He reflects on the recent confrontation between Samuel and Hunter's gang, acknowledging the complexities that lie within the struggle for justice. The judge begins by analyzing the actions taken by both sides during the conflict. He emphasizes that while Samuel acted out of a desire to protect his home, Hunter's gang was driven by a sense of entitlement and revenge. This contrast raises important moral questions about justice and fairness in society. The judge notes that while emotions can run high in moments of conflict, it is essential to remember the principles of law that govern their actions. He discusses how personal biases can influence judgments, both in court and in everyday life. In this case, Samuel's past as a legendary sharpshooter adds layers to his character and decisions. The judge reflects on how societal perceptions of heroism and villainy can shape public opinion, often complicating the pursuit of justice. He acknowledges that while Samuel may be seen as a hero by some, others view him through the lens of fear due to his past. The judge also highlights the motivations behind each character's actions. He considers Samuel's journey toward embracing his identity while striving to protect those he cares about. At the same time, he examines Hunter's motivations, revealing how insecurity and a desire for power can lead individuals down a dark path. This exploration provides deeper insights into their choices and the societal context surrounding them. As he continues, the judge draws on relevant legal precedents and theories to illustrate how this case reflects broader themes within the legal system. He discusses how conflicts like this one often arise in communities where individuals feel threatened or marginalized. The judge emphasizes that understanding these dynamics is crucial for fostering a more just society. He concludes by reflecting on what has been learned from this experience. The judge urges everyone to consider how their actions impact not only their own lives, but also the lives of those around them. He encourages open dialogue within the community as a means of addressing grievances and finding common ground. In this moment of reflection, the judge reinforces the idea that truth and justice are often shaped by different perspectives. He reminds the townsfolk that while they may have differing opinions about Samuel's actions, they must strive to understand each other's viewpoints to build a stronger community. As he finishes speaking, there is a sense of unity among those gathered. The judge's insights resonate deeply with everyone present, reminding them that while challenges may arise, it is their collective responsibility to uphold justice and fairness in Stormy Creek. With renewed purpose, Samuel stands alongside Max and Jake, feeling empowered by the judge's words. They understand that their journey is far from over, but are ready to face whatever comes next, together as a community committed to protecting their home. As Samuel and Max stand together, hand in hand, they feel a renewed sense of purpose and hope for the future of Stormy Creek. The challenges they have faced have shaped them into stronger individuals, and now they are ready to embrace the lessons learned along the way. One key takeaway from their journey is the importance of community. Samuel understands that he cannot fight battles alone. It takes the support of friends and neighbors to stand against adversity. The bond formed among the townsfolk during their struggles has created a united front that can weather any storm. Another lesson is the power of courage. Samuel has learned that true bravery is not just about facing physical threats, but also about confronting one's own fears and insecurities. By embracing his identity as a sharpshooter and protector, he has found strength in vulnerability. Max realizes that laughter can be a powerful tool in difficult times. Her accidental mispronunciation during the tense meeting served as a reminder that humor can break down barriers and bring people together, even in the face of danger. It is essential to find joy amidst challenges. As they look toward the future, Samuel and Max know that they must continue to build on these lessons. They decide to take action by organizing community gatherings where townsfolk can share their thoughts and concerns openly. This will foster understanding and strengthen relationships among everyone in Stormy Creek. They also plan to create a support network for those who may feel threatened or marginalized, ensuring that everyone feels safe and valued within their community. By standing together, they can create an environment where fear is replaced by trust and cooperation. In this moment of reflection, Samuel feels grateful for all that he has learned. He understands that while the road ahead may still hold challenges, they will face them with resilience and unity. With Max by his side, he is ready to embrace whatever comes next, confident that together they can build a brighter future for Stormy Creek. As they prepare to take these lessons into action, Samuel knows that every small step counts. Each effort made toward fostering community spirit, encouraging open dialogue, and supporting one another will lead to a stronger foundation for their home. With renewed determination, Samuel and Max step forward into the future, ready to face whatever storms may come their way, with courage, laughter, and an unbreakable bond guiding them through.